Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. Today is July 2nd, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we've received a grant to do three things. Number one, help improve financial literacy, especially in the business finance space. Second, we're giving away express shelf corps so entrepreneurs can have an infrastructure of a fundable business, leading to the third of the three, which is assisting entrepreneurs in accessing capital to start a business, to grow a business, to acquire a business, or whatever their desired uses of funds may be. So today we're going to drill into the two different distribution partner roles. And we introduced the branch office yesterday, but there's been a couple tweaks based upon some of the feedback that you all, that many of you had. And we want to clarify how the reseller role will continue to operate largely the same and make sure you understand the difference between that and the branch office. But you can do whichever you wish. No one's required to make any change. So we'll use the notepad here to keep track of where we're at. In the background, we have a shared landing page, and these landing pages are working out remarkably well. If you don't have one of these landing pages, I strongly encourage you to consider it. The landing page gives you somewhere to drive your prospect to. And if you have sales reps, like we talked about last week, how to get commission only sales reps, gives somewhere for your sales organization to feed in the prospects to create a sales funnel. Now the landing page, it's unique to you, so it's your link. But what's awesome about it is that not only does it make it easy to get a client into your sales funnel, equally as importantly, it has a drip campaign. And we've continued to work and massage and evolve the drip campaign, and it's working remarkably well. And what a drip campaign means is that once someone's gone to your landing page, they're getting text, periodic emails, but most specifically texts, a couple the first day and then spread out over a period of a week. So they get new messages, new education, new promptings. They get linked to your contract that we put together. So it's a great way to take a large number of prospects and drive them into your funnel and end up having a good number of contracted clients, which of course makes you money. So the landing page is something that will continue to be available for our resellers, which we'll talk about today, and it's also included for our branch offices. I don't want you to think that the reseller role is vastly different than the branch office. We're all doing the same things, right? We're educating, we're enrolling clients, and we're getting them capital. And the compensation is even the same. But there's just some nuances that are different that we need to make sure that you understand. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start by looking at the reseller slash grant coordinator role. So this has not changed, but I want to go ahead and start with that and restate how it works so we all have a clear understanding. But there's not a change to the role that you're currently in. If what you're in is working for you, stay in it, but let's just cover the basics to make sure we all have a common and accurate understanding. So, is there a cost to be a reseller? No. Is there a cost later? No. Is there a cost ever? No. There's no cost to be a reseller, and reseller grant coordinator means the same thing. If you want to become one, by the way, you can do so for free on our nonprofit website, which is 509pacific.org. Many of you already are, but no cost. So that's not changing. That won't change. There's not even a contract to sign. And you might say, well, how are you protected? Because, the purpose of contracts is not to take advantage of one another, but it's to clarify roles and expectations. We were told by so many of you that the reseller program should be simple. So not only is there no cost, frankly, you just let us know you want to be a reseller on the form on 509 Pacific. We send you an email. It has the packet, so you're open for business same day. You're able to enroll clients, and we'll talk about in a moment. You set the pricing, the contracts between you and your client. We're going to do the fulfillment, and you pay us our portion of the processing fee, which I'll get into dollars and cents in a minute. So we don't pay you as a reseller. You pay us, meaning the client pays you, and then we do a split of that. But we'll get to the dollars and cents. But there's no strings attached, right? There's no cost. There's no contract. There are no productivity requirements. And so, sure, you make more the more people you help, but there's not some mandate where you have to do a certain amount. Our average reseller does a deal a day, 5 a week, 20 a month. So that's average. Certainly you could be above average, you could choose to be below average, but there's no requirements. So thus you control your own income. And what I mean by that is both you determine what you want the client's processing fee to be. So we need $499.99. We'll just round it off. I'll say 500. That's what covers the legal team's cost to get all the documents into the new client's hands because we're transferring a corporation to them. So that's what we need. Anything above that is your profit. So you could charge just that and not make anything. You could charge 1,000 and make 500. A number of you are charging 2,500, so you're making 2,000 up front, but it's up to you. But it's obviously an issue of what's your volume, and then also, what's the processing fee per unit. But if that doesn't make sense, let me know. Type in any questions. But it's great. There's no cost, no contract, no strings attached. You control how much you make, which is a function of two things: how many people and how much you make per person. But you control that. As I mentioned a moment ago, this is simple. Some of you make it too complicated. And I think it's a curse. Some of you, like Debbie, some of you are so smart that simple things are a challenge. And so you take the editable agreement, you take our information off, you put yours on, change pricing the way you want, and you're open for business. Should be open for business same day, making money same day, get paid same day, right? You're not waiting for us to pay you because the clients are signing your version of the editable agreement and they're paying you today. It's great. So our support for resellers and grant coordinators, because there's no cost, they don't have any skin in the game, it's going to be primarily Zoom and text. So we do these morning Zooms, and then we have a text line, which I'll show you here. It hasn't changed, but I'll show you at the bottom of the notes screen. So that's primarily how we support resellers. Branch offices have much more support because they have skin in the game. It's a different role, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, the reseller marketing program, sometimes referred to as RMP, is optional. It's different. It does have a cost, but we'll go through it. So you might say, well, what's the RMP? So let's go through it. And I know yesterday we're vacillating a little bit. Will resellers continue to have access to the RMP? Yes, no. But they vetted through that yesterday during the day. So yes, that'll continue to be available. But let's go through what the RMP includes, and it's optional, which means it does have a cost, I'll describe, but you don't have to do it. So does that mean that the reseller grant coordinator is not free? Oh, it is free, but this is an optional resource. But we're going to go through it in great detail. So what does it include? It includes a landing page. So the landing page, just as we described, it's a place for you and or your sales team to drive your prospects, get them in the sales funnel. It'll look like this. So it's standardized. Now, but it's got a unique link, so it's coded to you. So this is a picture of my company car. If you want your own company car on the picture, you can put, you can always develop your own landing page. But what we've done is created one that is very effective, has a brief title, a brief description, and it works. So some people say, oh, I don't like Lamborghinis, I like Ferraris. Well, I don't own a Ferrari. Maybe you do, I don't. So this is just simply a picture of my company car. If you want to have your own landing page and do it differently, you can obviously do so. Nothing prevents you from doing that. It includes the drip marketing. I was making reference to that a few minutes ago. That's a really big deal, right? Because what do we know in the business development space? A lot of people are going to need multiple touches, on average, 5 to 7 touches before they make a purchasing commitment. Well, you can go follow up with them 5 or 7 times, but frankly, most of you aren't going to be organized and or diligent enough to do that. So why don't we allow automation to do that for us? And that's literally what we've built in. Furthermore, we develop your electronic contract. So as I mentioned a moment ago with your well, I'm struggling with that. When you let us know that you want to be a reseller on 509 Pacific, no cost, no contract, we send you an email, the implementation kit, and it includes the editable client agreement. You take our information off, put yours on. You will also change pricing the way that you want, and then you're open. So that's fine. You can do it yourself. But if you would rather us do it, then the RMP means that our team will build out your electronic contract. And that's important because it's embedded into that drip campaign. So if someone comes here, the first text they'll receive is 1 minute later, and it's going to have a link to your e-contract. So we're going to give them the option right away to enroll. Now, if they don't enroll, we'll continue to drip to them with more information and more education, and periodically we'll get your contract back out in front of them. With the e-contract, it's great. You don't have to set up DocuSign or Adobe. Essentially, we'll just email you an executed agreement and say, guess what, Anthony? Here's your new client. They're under contract. Just send them an invoice. Or, hey, Claude, great news. Here's your client's agreement. Just send them an invoice. So it's using automation and technology to help you, frankly, make more money. Now, if you do the RMP, it opens up back-end income. And so there's been a lack of clarity on this. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. If you're just a plain reseller grant coordinator, there's one stream of income, and that is the markup that you choose for the processing fee. However, if you would like to also make money on the back end off of the client's capital raise, that's perfectly fine, but you have to be in the RMP. Now you might say, well, why is that? I mean, why do I have to do something extra to get money on the back end? Well, you've got to be part of the calculation, part of the system. Here, you're developing the client agreement and delivering it to us. You're providing us our portion of the processing fee. Much different when we're paying you on the back end. When we're paying you on the back end, the system has to be programmed to recognize, oh, okay, this is Eric Boone. Eric Boone referred in the client. Client received, let's say, 200,000. Eric Boone gets 5% of that. Thus, Eric Boone gets $10,000. So it's got to be built into the system. When we were earlier in and smaller, we were able to do manual, but we can't keep up with almost 1,000 of you in doing a bunch of manual calculations. So if you want the back end, we need to use the RMP. Also, we have the overrides, and that's going to continue. That shouldn't be apostrophe S, should just be S. So as we talked about yesterday, there was a little bit of uncertainty, but the great news is that's going to continue. So even though there is the branch office role, the RMP will continue to have access to the resellers will continue to have access to the RMP, continue to have access to the back end of the performance fee, success fee, and will continue to have overrides available. But again, we have to be in the RMP if we want either of these because we need the system to be able to calculate it. Otherwise, it's all manual. We've grown too much to do everything manual. Now, cost. There is $1,000, penny less, cost for a refundable deposit to build out the RMP for you. So we had a promotion last month, but that was last month, right? So we don't want to confuse June. So if you qualified for it in June, no worries. You'll get it that waived. But that was June. So again, if we owe it to you from June, no worries. We'll take care of it. But going forward, as of July 1st, the June promotion no longer is applicable, right? Because we're not in June. So there is a $1,000 refundable deposit. However, it's refunded after just your first client, just your first client. So if you wanted this automation to be able to be more successful and be able to take advantage of the back end, pay for the refundable deposit, run a deal through, and then that comes right back to you. And you might say, well, why is that? Why don't we just give it free to everyone? You've got to understand our lives. Our lives are full of a lot of people that say, oh, yeah, I want to be a reseller. I want to be a grant coordinator. But a lot of people, they do nothing. And we can't continue to put more time and effort and resources into people that do nothing. So if you want the landing page, if you didn't qualify for it through June, if you didn't, then you can pay the refundable deposit and then run your first client through. Now you may say, well, I'm broke. I don't have any money. Well, then do it manual on your first contract and get that first contract in, mark it up enough that you have some money so you're not broke, and then use your proceeds from your first deal, pay for the RMP, and then run your first deal through the RMP, and then you get it right back. But we can't continue to provide free services for resellers who don't pay anything, that have no contract, no requirements. It's a drain for us. Now, much different on the branch office, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So if you want it, you pay for it. If you can't afford it, go sell a client. Mark it up 1,000 because you control it. Then you'll have the money to make it. Then run one second client, the first one through the RMP, and then the refundable deposit will come right back to you. Okay, so that is the reseller grant coordinator. Hopefully we're clear on it. Now let's get into, frankly, what is our focus going forward, which are the branch offices. All right, so we've played around with branch offices in the past, but now we've got a full commitment. We've got a new ownership group, as I mentioned yesterday, and they want us to have a local footprint. So if the bosses want it, I want it, and if I want it, then and the bosses want it, then we're going to go implement it. So let's make sure that you understand how this works, and you can make an educated decision. I'm not trying to sell you something, completely up to you, but it's a more advanced level of involvement. Okay, so it is designed for those of you that are really going to be engaged. So as a reseller, grant coordinator, you can be a dabbler. You can do a deal now and not another one for 6 months. You can do none. You can do many. It's free for all. But if you're going to run a branch office, we're going to work with you to get in at least. That's the way it's designed for you to make at least 100,000 a month. And of course, if you multiply that times 12, 1.2 million annually. Now, I know we used to talk about these numbers for the resellers, and it's true, resellers can make that same money because the comp model is actually the same, but it's just a lot of resellers are dabblers. Here, these folks have an investment, they have a higher level of commitment, and so if you don't plan on making 100,000 a month, don't even consider the branch office role because there's a disconnect. Okay, moving on. Another significant difference of the branch office, and it's not a franchise model, but we offer geographic exclusivity. And the reason that we do that is our branch offices are going to be working closely with the banks and credit unions in their community. We talked about that yesterday and even had a little graphic to show you kind of that interaction where the banks and credit unions refer to your branch office. We run the clients through our programming, we get them fundable, and we send them right back to that same bank, right back to so the referral source also becomes the funding source. But what you and I do in the middle of that is get the clients fundable. So we only want to have one branch office in a given county. Let's take Fulton County, Georgia. If we counted, there's probably 100 banks that have business lending operations in Fulton County, Georgia. Well, we wouldn't want Charles, Christy, Claude, Debbie, Doug, and Drake all calling on those same banks because it makes us look uncoordinated. So what will happen is if you have a given county, you have exclusivity. No one else can work with those banks in your area. Hopefully that makes sense. And the reason why. So the goal is to work with local banks. With that being said, branch offices can also generate clients any other way, just like grant coordinators and resellers can, but the fact that they're working with banks is important. It's an add-on. The reseller marketing program is included. It's included. So no, there would not be a refundable deposit now or ever. The RMP is included for the branch offices. We are doing in-person training. That's free. Travel cost isn't included, but in-person training is included for the branch offices. No in-person training for the resellers. So you're starting to see some important points of differentiation. And again, this isn't trying to persuade you to do one over the other. It's completely up to you. Let's see, in-person trainings included. So we do the Zooms training, the text, but also phone. So we're going to do phone support for branch offices because they're at a higher level. We can't provide phone support for nearly 1,000 resellers where some of the resellers are active, but some of them aren't. It just that we have to match our resources with the level of commitment and activity of the distribution partner. From a compensation perspective, it's exactly the same. So that's not a reason to be a branch office versus a reseller. Now, there should be greater volume, but as far as you get paid on the front end, whatever markup, you're paid on the back end, the 5%. So comp is the same. Compensation is not different between the two roles, assuming that you're a reseller that's using the RMP, because we already said if you're a reseller and you don't use the RMP, then you don't get the back end fees. Well, why is that? That seems unfair. Well, you're not plugged into the system, so therefore it would require manual calculations. We can't keep up with that many manual calculations. We're also providing 100,000 of working capital to help get the branch office up and going. So what would that be for? Well, that would be to cover the let's say the first 3 months of the lease of your branch office, to cover payroll, to cover marketing if you want a company car, um, so forth. So you would manage that budget, but it's designed to make sure that you're properly capitalized. Whereas a reseller, you're probably working from your Scooby-Doo underwear in your back bedroom. You don't need all those things. But as a branch office, you're more involved with the community. You're more visible. Hopefully that makes sense. So those, we have the description points of the reseller, description points if we add the RMP to the reseller, and then in contrast, the description of the branch office. Now, there are requirements for the branch office. Requirements. So again, we're all about transparency. So number one, you have to either have or get a physical office. We're not a franchise, so we don't tell you exactly what that office has to look like. We were going to do some more extravagant things, but we want to keep it simple. So you can pick the office. Is it freestanding? Is it in a tower? I mean, it's up to you, up to you. But we need to have an office because we need to have a flag in the sand to be really involved in the community. There is a license fee. It's an annual license fee. Well, why is it annual? Why is it not month to month? Well, because we're going to go out and develop these bank relationships with you, and we need to have some consistency. So at the end of the year, if you don't want to continue, then you can move on. But someone else will take over essentially. So we have the license fee has been set at 20,000, which it's a fair deal. I mean, go to BizBuy Business where we were. What was that website? Let's go over to that. Biz. buy, sell. So we had a training last week where we talked about where places this website we can go buy existing businesses or buy franchises or what have you. I mean, go try to find a business. We can go search for a business. Go try to search for a business that costs 20,000 or less that projects to make the type of money that we're looking at making. You're not. I mean, this business, they're bragging about you could make 5,000 a month. We're making 5,000 a day, right? So dramatically different. So there is a license fee. They want to build out as many of these branch offices as we can in the first half of July. So they're going to do a promotion where they cut that in half. So it's a 10,000 license fee to get a branch office. Now, the problem is since it's exclusive, only one per county, we need to make sure that your county is available. So what you'll do is you'll text us whatever county, of course, mention the state too, that you want. We can confirm if it's available. And if you would like to run the branch office in that area, then we can go ahead and get that set up. But you would be responsible for the license fee. The license fee is reduced in half. So it's just an economic decision, right? If you say, well, yeah, this value proposition is worth it. I want to work with banks. I want to have geographic exclusivity, then become a branch office. If you say, no, 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 too much, I'm not up for that, not a problem, then just simply be a reseller. All right, so let me expand this out, and then we're going to get to, I guess we'll highlight there. Any questions, comments, concerns any of you have? We'll go back over to this as our backdrop. All right, so let's get into your questions, comments, concerns. Debbie says she didn't have a landing page. So yeah, so if you want a landing page, Debbie, not a problem. First decision that you need to make is, do you want to be a branch office, Debbie, where the RMP is all included? If not, if you want to stay as a reseller, which is fine, let us know. We'll send over the agreement for the RMP. You would sign that. You would pay the refundable deposit, and you'd get that back once you've ran your first client through. Drake asked a good question, and I'm a bit embarrassed. Drake, I'm going to come back to your question in a moment. I'm going to have to look up the answer because I don't remember how that's written. But Drake, I'm not ignoring you. I'll come back to your question. Um, I feel like the question is about financing. So, sure, if you want to finance the branch office, we can finance the branch office and you'd still qualify for the promotion. That's fine. If you want to finance the RMP as a reseller, sure, not a problem. Obviously, it's with approved credit because financing looks at creditworthiness. But yes, we can do that. Natalie asked, and so she's got another good question. So let me pull up the RMP agreement. So I have it here and I can answer the specific questions that a couple of you have. So give me just a second here and I'll pull it up. So the questions that we have are some of the specifics of how long do we have to get the first client for the refund, and then the other question was from Drake, what are the specific requirements to trigger that refund? So let me go look for that. So it says to qualify for the refund of the refundable deposit, licensee, which would be you, must pay the refundable deposit, which is the original deposit here, and then enroll at least one client within 30 days. So that answers your question. So very reasonable, right? It's not like, oh, you got to go get your first client within 2 days or you don't qualify. It's 30 days. So there's the answer to that, Natalie. And then back to Drake's question. Drake's question was specifically, what does it take to trigger this refund? And what it says in the agreement is that you must enroll at least one client in the Express Shelf program that comes through your landing page and just simply forward our portion, the $4.99, to us. So It doesn't require that the client finish the process or go into phase two. So very, very reasonable. So hopefully that makes sense. Drake, good questions. Natalie asked about finding clients. Well, we've had separate trainings, so I do recommend that if you've not seen our different trainings, go to our YouTube channel. Lots of different ways to find clients. I believe the best way is to work with banks because so Natalie, this doesn't make sense maybe to you, but let's take someone and we'll pick on them just respectfully. Let's say we have Lamey. So let's say that Lamey goes to the local bank to apply for an SBA loan and Lamey gets declined. So the model is then the banker would refer Lamey to you so we could get Lamey fundable and then we would refer Lamey back to that same bank. So what's the point? The best way to get clients is to get referrals from banks for their declines. That's the best, and that's the whole model that we're using for the branch offices. But that is not a model that resellers would use. But lots of ways to find people that wouldn't need money to start and grow a business. You'll find good training on our library. Jennifer says she thinks this is a great opportunity. I do too. I think it's great. And again, if you go back to the training we had, I think it was last week on biz, buy, sell, and you can see all these different businesses that are for sale, all different types of industries. But you look at what the startup cost is, many of them are very expensive and the projected revenue. I don't know why we have so many of these collectible toys. It looks like they're kind of running the gamut on ads. Let's go to the finance industry. But if you compare what you and I can do in terms of helping people and making money, it is far superior to, I think, what you would find elsewhere. Let's see, businesses. Go to service businesses. So, if you wanted to start a educational school, you're at 400,000 and it cash flows less than $250,000 a year. We should be bringing that in a 1 to 2 month period without a big investment. So what we're doing, it's real, it's legal, it's ethical, it's not a franchise, but it's an ability to help people and earn money. All right, so let's go back to other questions. Let's see. Jennifer's asking about which counties. Well, there was a lot of discussion of how to price out the branch office, and they decided to keep it real simple. So it's a flat license fee per county, regardless of which county. So you're right, some counties are larger, so it would make sense to maybe focus on a larger county. However, it's up to you. You could pick what you want. We're running long and I have to hop on a conference call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it today. We'll get back together tomorrow. If you have questions you want to let us know, you can let us know here, but we'll get back together tomorrow morning and continue the discussion. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.